Good morning, family. Welcome to Morning Devotion Light. Today is Friday, September 22nd. Let's begin by greeting Heavenly Parent and true parents. Janjian Champumalimge Kyungbe. Pado. Now for our family pledge, let's welcome Pastor Milhan Stevens.
가정 맹세 1. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 본향 땅을 찾아 본연의 창조 이상인 지상 천국과 천상 천국을 창건할 것을 맹세하나이다. 2. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 참부모님을 모시어 천주의 대표적 가정이 되며 중심적 가정이 되어 가정에서는 효자, 국가에서는 중심, 세계에서는 성인, 천주에서는 성자의 가정의 도리를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 3. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 4대 심정권과 3대 왕권과皇족권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 4. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님의 창조 이상인 천주대 가족을 형성하여 자유와 평화와 통일과 행복의 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 5. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 매일 주체적 전상세계와 대상적 지상세계의 통일을 향해 전진적 발전을 촉진화할 것을 맹세하나이다. 6. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 참부모님의 대신 가정으로서 천운을 움직이는 가정이 되어 하늘의 축복을 주변에 연결시키는 가정을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 7. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 본연의 혈통과 연결된 위하는 생활을 통하여 심정문화 세계를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다. 8. 자녀국 주인 우리 가정은 참사랑을 중심하고 자녀국 시대를 맞이하여 절대신앙, 절대사랑, 절대복종으로 신인의 일체 이상을 이루어 지상천국과 천상천국의 해방권과 석방권을 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다.
Thank you, Pastor Milhan. Now for our opening prayer, I'd like to invite Wilson. Wilson, could you please unmute and pray for us today?
Sure.
Thank you.
Please join me in prayer. Thank you, Heavenly Parent, true parents, for our gathering here this morning. And I'd like to ask for forgiveness for the lack of action that sometimes happens in our lives, and we can fulfill our responsibility the way we should have fulfilled. And so ask for forgiveness that we can continue this path and repent for our failures and trying to recover from them. I also would like to ask for your forgiveness for the lack of understanding at this moment as the providence advance. Ask for patience that many things has changed and sometimes we can't understand, but that past goes and experience flows. At one point we understand everything that's unfolding in front of us. I'd like to pray for the Japanese community that's recovering from persecution, and pray for the signature petition that's going around online to raise awareness of the injustices happening in Japan, in our movement, the persecution, the discrimination, and perhaps through this petition, something can be done and we can recover the status that we had before everything unfolded a couple years ago. I'd like to pray for all the families, the blessed families that volunteer in different capacities witnessing Kodan, Sunday service, music, youth education, blessing, and everything. Thank you for our community. Thank you for our leader, Pastor Mihir Stevens and Joshua Kutentas. Keep them in your prayers as we look at them to guide us forward, as well as senior pastors, Edna Perui and Juanita Perui as well. Thank you very much. All this asking name of through prayers in Jesus Christ's name. My name is Ferreira. Blessed our families. Adieu.
Adieu. Thank you, Wilson.
Yeah.
Okay, brothers and sisters, let's take a few moments to share our gratitude, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a good sharing. Reverend Corley, would you like to share about Ayn Rand or whatever you like? You have to unmute.
Well, yes, I was in the chat room with Kathleen this morning, and the first question I had for her was, why is she called Kathleen when she has a German last name? And she informed me that her mother, she has, I think, 5 or 6 siblings, and her mother named all of them with Irish names. So I'd have to talk to her mother to find out. She's just because she liked those names. So it was very interesting to hear that. Then we talked a little bit about Ayn Rand, the novelist. She was from Russia, but she was a virulent anti-communist because she experienced communism firsthand when she was a late teenager and early 20s. And many of her friends were deported to Siberia because of their views at university, because they had a difference of opinion about communism. They were actually sent to Siberia. And so because of that, she was able to get out of Russia and come to America. I think the only one of her family. And she, of course, made rapid progress. She was a very, very smart lady. And she made rapid progress in America and published several books that became very well known. But the one thing she didn't believe in the spirit world, which was a little sad to hear that. But yeah, so anyway, those are the few things we talked about this morning. So.
Thank you, Reverend Corley.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't know anything about Ayn Rand, but her name sounds so familiar to me.
Mm.
Okay, brothers and sisters, now it's time for our Audible reading. We're reading from the Mother of Peace, our True Mother's Memoir. Pastor Milhan.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Reverend Corley. Thank you, Wilson, for your prayer. Yeah, there is a petition that was initiated by the youth in Utah, which I love that fact that was started locally. So that is getting some attraction there. So I put the link in the chat there. I just signed it now, so it should be good. Okay, let's begin our Audible reading. Oh yeah, you can subscribe here too. Oh, you're not hearing that, are you?
No.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
Welcome to Mother of Peace, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes.
It's a little bit too low, Pastor Milhan.
Jahan Moon, a production of the Washington
That's good.
Times Global
Thank
Media
you.
Group, narrated by Allison Hiroto. My husband and I had immigrated with our family to this unfamiliar land, and we took on a challenging course. We concluded our first campaign with the success of the 3 rallies, Madison Square Garden in 1974, and the Yankee Stadium and Washington Monument rallies in 1976. Uttered with sincere devotion, our prayer was the light that ended the darkness. Its light was cast beyond the open-hearted people who attended our events to illuminate all Americans and all people in our global village. Understandably, the American people did not automatically welcome my husband and me warmly when we arrived, fresh off the boat, from a land in the far distant East. They were unfamiliar with terms they were hearing for the first time, such as divine principle and true parents. There was only one reason that we were able to receive such a broad and deep response within 4 years of our arrival. It was not just that our message made sense. More than that, it was that our message reawakened the religious vision upon which the United States of America was conceived. That is what triggered the significant response. Our prayers and sincere devotion, and our message about the importance of the family, summoning young people to recover their sense of morality and to strive for the perfection of true love in the community. This is what moved the hearts of the American people, for it is the founding vision of that nation. Many young people came to realize that the principle is the truth and joined our family movement. For these brothers and sisters, the principle became the core axis of life. They shared the principle with everyone, from fellow youth carrying backpacks on the West Coast to the elite leaders in the universities and the government. They gained the support of people of all races, occupations, ages, and educational backgrounds. My husband and I toured the United States to encourage and inspire not just the public, but our members. We called them to establish schools, create newspapers, get their doctorates, link cultures through programs such as the Little Angels, dance troupes, and rock bands, raise funds going shop to shop and door to door, create home churches, fish businesses and restaurants, and organize volunteer service projects. On every path we trod, the blood, sweat, and tears of our frontline missionaries, domestic and international, continued to flow. I was constantly in prayer. At Belvedere, in the summer of 2016, the celebration of the 40th anniversary of the Yankee Stadium rally brought to mind this entire history. Returning from those memories, I viewed the hundreds of happy interracial families gathered on the lawn at Belvedere. As I rose to the podium, I set aside the emotions attached to that day of celebration and considered the future. Standing and speaking with a heart of grateful love, I let our members know that there is still much work to do. We cannot allow ourselves to be satisfied with those victories from decades ago. At the end of the day, I lingered at Belvedere. A summer rain fell upon the lawn, and once again, deep in my heart, I felt the call to focus my mind and continue on the path toward a world of hope and happiness as the Mother of Peace. A song of victory rang out from Danbury. My husband and I were well aware of the many who opposed us. The charge of brainwashing was a recurring accusation. Such scurrilous criticism always followed my husband and me. But such is a story of God's history, and we understood why. The movement against us in the United States reached its crescendo in the late 1970s. The Washington Monument Rally was the tipping point for those who hoped our movement would fail, and critics and fearmongers now envisioned the unification principle spreading like wildfire throughout America. Donald Frazier, a congressman from Minnesota, took the lead on Capitol Hill, opening a hearing in the House Foreign Affairs Committee. We would be accused of involvement in a political scandal nicknamed Koreagate in the press. It had nothing to do with us, except that we were from Korea, but it was gaining publicity for members of Congress. After Congressman Frazier chaired the hearing that investigated, without result, our movement in March and April of 1978, he failed in his campaign to win a seat in the U.S. Senate. In 1980, however, he became mayor of Minneapolis, and he later signed a proclamation welcoming my husband and me to that fair city. With the congressional committee coming up empty-handed, those who wanted to convict my husband of something, anything, asked the Internal Revenue Service to investigate us. Beginning in the late 1970s, our church was subjected to a full IRS audit. We opened our books, confident that we had done nothing wrong. For 2 years, we even provided a private office for an IRS team in our Manhattan headquarters building. I have lived a life of sacrifice and service for America and the world, Father Moon declared publicly. I have nothing to be ashamed of. This case is the result of racism and religious prejudice. Although Father Moon had done nothing wrong, on October 15, 1981, the U.S. District Attorney in the Southern District of New York, on the third attempt with the grand jury, finally succeeded in lodging charges of tax evasion against him. Our lawyer knew that the newspapers and television stations' persistent attacks on our movement rendered it impossible to convene an unbiased jury of New York City citizens. Also, it would be hard to seat a jury that could understand the complexities of such a tax case. Father Moon therefore requested a bench trial, but the court did not accept this motion. In pleading their case, the government lawyers confused everyone in the courtroom, no one more than the members of the jury. On May 18, 1982, the jury handed down their verdict. My husband was found guilty of owing a total of $7,300 in taxes accrued over a 3-year period, nearly 10 years prior. It is routine for people who underpay their taxes by far greater amounts to simply pay a fine. But for Father Moon, an evangelist from Korea, the judge pounded his gavel and pronounced his decision. I sentence you to 18 months in prison and a $25,000 fine. Upon this announcement, my husband immediately stood up, smiled, and walked across the courtroom with his hand outstretched to shake the hand of the government's lead prosecutor. The lawyer was startled. He turned his back on my husband, stuffed his papers in his briefcase, and walked out of the courtroom. American churches were paying close attention to our case. Holding church funds under the name of the pastor was common practice for them, and this became the basis of the accusation against my husband. The government was prosecuting someone for what was a general church practice, and if they could send my husband to jail for that, they could send anyone to jail. When Father Moon was pronounced guilty, they rose up. With one voice, the National Council of Churches, United Presbyterian Church in the USA, the American Baptist Churches in the USA, the African Methodist Episcopal Church, the Unitarian Universalist Association, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the National Conference of Black Mayors, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Catholic League for Religious and Civil Rights, the National Association of Evangelicals, and many others called the decision an obvious oppression of religion. With them in our ranks, we founded the Coalition for Religious Freedom and Minority Alliance International, which organized rallies throughout the country to protest the verdict. Conscientious people of all denominations and political views recognized oppression when they saw it and demonstrated on behalf of liberty. On the foundation of this bipartisan support, we submitted an appeal to the United States Supreme Court. To our great disappointment, in May 1984, the Supreme Court washed its hands of it, thereby affirming the sentence. My husband's response? It is the will of God. He was not concerned about going to prison. He had already turned the court's decision into the next step of God's plan to awaken America from spiritual death. He was incarcerated on July 20th, 1984, at the Federal Correctional Institution in Danbury, Connecticut. This whole affair was not about taxes. It was about the world's most powerful nation failing to investigate and understand the nature of our movement and the authentic reasons for our growth and influence. It was a misuse of governmental and media power induced by fear and ignorance. But God always works in mysterious ways. The Christian community united with us as it never had before. Major clerics were outraged that what could be characterized as an administrative mistake, if that, could be punished by 18 months in prison. Thousands of clergy throughout the United States protested. Hundreds spent a week in Washington, D.C. in the Common Suffering Fellowship. They studied the principles and America's tradition of religious freedom, visited their congressional representatives, demonstrated outside the White House, and proclaimed that when the government threw Father Moon in prison, it had thrown them in there as well. Besides supporting this domestic ecumenical activism, Unification Church members around the world prayed unceasingly. Having no experience of the earliest years in Korea, they could not digest the reality that the Lord would be in prison. My husband and I comforted them. From now, a new world will begin. Father Moon counseled our members, our family, and me. Now, not only America, but all humanity will be with us, and the drumbeat of hope will sound throughout the world.
Thank you for listening to Godable. Visit motherofpeacebook.com to purchase the complete audiobook. Godable is made possible by...
Thank you, God, for parents, for these words today. My goodness. Talk about timing. And what a clear message to us about what we need to do today. You know, there's one part where Mother said, we can't just rest on our laurels, just talking about the victories of the past and just, you know, sipping our lattes and, you know, talking about those the glory days. Well, guess what? Many devils are raising their ugly heads again. So we need to step up. This battle is not yet won. And even after it's won, we still have to fight ignorance and, you know, stupidity. So we're going to jump into these highlights. Many young people came to realize that the principle is the truth and joined our family movement. I was talking to Mama Jean in the breakout room for appreciations, and she was explaining why there was so much persecution, because so many young people were, you know, leaving school, leaving their parents' homes to come and join this movement. Because at that time, you had to, you know, live in the centers to really be an active member. And so that was creating a lot of outrage and concern, legitimate concern and fears. So we have to understand that. Even when Father was growing rapidly in near EY University, he was telling those girls, don't come, like, don't leave the school, don't make so much trouble. Like, let's you can do this more peacefully. But at the same time, Father knew he didn't have much time in America, so he had to make as big of a splash as he could before his visa, or in this case, thrown in prison. He didn't know how long he had, so there was a lot of rapid growth, not so sustainable. But either way, the truth is the truth. That's the point. When people find the divine principle and they really study it and understand it, there's no turning back. And so it's really important for us to prepare an environment where people can feel loved, welcomed, belonging. Otherwise, it's, you know, you've red-pilled somebody and they don't have the defense. Mother was constantly in prayer. Can you imagine? You know, Mother giving rebirth to so many people, and she knows they're struggling and they're being challenged and being persecuted. My goodness, you know, not just her spiritual children, but her physical children, just constantly being persecuted and attacked, and death threats, and just every day is a nightmare. So what else could you do but pray constantly, asking heaven for help? I'll tell you what, though, America, we give Mother hope. And she came to Belvedere and she saw our happy interracial families. When Mother comes to America, she can see the world here. She can see that it's not just some pipe dream, that in America we can create an actual model of interracial families, intergenerational people coming together to attend God and to seek God and create the kingdom of heaven on earth. And I'm going to say America is not completely diverse, right? Not every part of America, that is. But in New York, we have every kind of person here. So we have that opportunity. We cannot allow ourselves to be satisfied with those victories from decades ago. Due to that, Critics and fearmongers now envisioned the unification principle spreading like wildfire throughout America. No, I mean, there's a reason for Satan to be afraid, right? Satan had been ruling this world for a very long time, and he's not going to give it up that easily. So when he sees the divine principle spreading like crazy, all these young people joining, but even though they were involved in all different parts of society, some would call it, oh, you're a religious nuisance. It's like, shut up. It's like, what, how hypocritical are you? It's like so many of our members are getting cleaned up and getting off drugs and LSD, or we were cleaning up society, putting morality in the center. Yeah, we're not perfect. Mistakes were made. People have issues to overcome. So yeah, we have to take responsibility for that. But overall, the teachings and the word of our true parents was very clear, and it was a good thing for America. And we have a lot of proud Americans who, if not, are more proud than the average American in our movement. So please, be quiet. Do your research. So this is what they were afraid of, though, is that this ugly America, or this, what do you call it? That they were going to lose this declining America, and they don't want to see America rise because of God. They don't want God to get the glory. But anyway, he later signed a proclamation welcoming my husband and me to that fair city. So Congressman Frazier, he was an object of Satan. Unfortunately, we love him, like we love everybody. We love, forgive, love, unite. I think he was trying to advance his own political career, and he got a mayor's seat in Minneapolis. But because of True Parents' forgiving heart, parental heart, they can see that they have to see beyond Congressman Frazier. They know that this is an innocent man who was, abducted by Satan to do his will. So you can't hate on the guy. You have to attack the real enemy, and you can't attack the real enemy without love, kindness. At the same time, Congressman Frazier was a representative of the media sentiment at the time, and so it was a popular thing to attack Reverend Moon. And so we have to change that. That's our responsibility too. We have to set the story straight. So we've always had media issues in our movement, unfortunately. We opened our books confident that we had done nothing wrong. I have nothing to be ashamed of. This case is the result of racism and religious prejudice. I mean, it's true. We've had meetings with Kay Allen and Dr. Mickler, and she told us, like, we've been subpoenaed, we've been prosecuted like 30 times, and we won every single case. But the damage is already done, right? Because the news gets to hear about what we're being accused of, but they don't know that it's not true whatsoever. So this is the story of our movement. This is why our bookkeeping is so ridiculous. Like, no, we do need to have good accounting. Don't get me wrong, but we have so many bookkeepers, so many of they literally have a mission. We had a meeting with Chohei-san one time, and he explained the history of our movement in terms of bookkeeping. Father was very clear, we need to be better at this. And like it says here, we had a whole department just for the IRS, let alone just trying to bookkeeping for our own movement. It's hard enough to do that. But it became a ministry. So we did everything right. And of course, they can only attack us with something that is just an administrative mistake, which happens. You cannot avoid administrative mistakes. No one's that perfect, especially churches. My goodness, the newspapers and television stations' persistent attacks on our movement rendered it impossible to convene an unbiased jury of New York City citizens. So this is something we should repent for as New Yorkers. We didn't do well enough in the media. And again, I'm not blaming anyone. I mean, it wasn't easy. I don't think it's probably impossible, but today we can do better. I can tell you that. I think God has made a world where social media and more honest media can come out now. And so it is up to us now, I believe, to change the story online. But because of that, there was no way to have an unbiased jury. So it's just purely unfair to have a jury trial. Yet, despite all of this discrimination and all this stuff, Father walked across the courtroom with his hand outstretched to shake the hand of the government's lead prosecutor. And then you have like these lawyers, and then they're just like scurrying away like these little devils, completely knowing that what they're doing is not right. But Father forgives. Mother, well, I don't know if Mother forgives necessarily, but I know Mother, she said about this in America, because she loves America so much. And it breaks her heart that this happened. She doesn't want to have this resentment towards America. She wished that it never happened, actually. But Father, he had no choice. Just like Jesus on the cross, Jesus had no choice. Of course, he was the King of Kings. He knew that. God knew that. But he had to accept that this is plan B. So he had to go with plan B, go into prison. But he did so in a way that people could not deny that this is a man of God. If they could send my husband to jail for that, they could send anyone to jail. And frankly, this is what's happening in Japan. For the Japan to persecute us like this, they could do that to any religious group in Japan. The way that the statutes and the way that they're designing this case against us is designed, it looks like exactly like every other Buddhist church or whatever, what do they call them? Temples in Japan. Spiritual sales. Are you kidding me? Like, you don't think Buddhists sell stuff that have spiritual value? Come on. So this is, they should be stepping up in Japan and protecting not so much our movement, but keeping the government's check. He had already turned the court's decision to the next step of God's plan to awaken America from spiritual death. So again, these words are carefully chosen, you can tell, because Father, by going to prison, he couldn't protect America from physical death, as we know, Jesus died for our spirit, but he couldn't live for our families. So in the same way, Father had to die to save, as penance for America's spirit. But going to prison in America was a bad, bad thing. Because Father was in prison in America, he couldn't even step foot in Japan. And there's other countries around the world who will not accept your Father because of his imprisonment in America. So that was a bad, 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 bad thing. So even though, yes, Father could claim America's spirit because he could forgive, like Jesus did, but the damage was done. But God always works in mysterious ways. Again, I like how this is put. An administrative mistake, if that, could be punished by 18 months in prison. So that is exactly what happens. If anyone tries to say, "Oh, they threw father in prison because of tax evasion," we're like, "Well, yeah, okay. So you mess up your taxes." And again, you didn't mess up the taxes. It's just how it was labeled. Like you misspell something and then you go to prison. I'm sorry. That's persecution. Now, not only America, but all humanity will be with us, and the drumbeat of hope sound throughout the world. I've always said this. when Japan, when the top comes off Japan, this clamp, this suppression, when that's gone, watch out because Japanese church will just, the missionaries will be all over the world. But you heard, right? Was it 6,500 Japanese youth went to Japan, went to Korea recently. So like there's a mega, I mean, anyway, America, we have a certain job to do. But to be honest with you, the real weapon that we have for the world is Japan, the mother nation. No joke. All we got to do in America is just make our movement look normal. And then Japan will just explode and do things around the world. And then we'll keep up with it. But we're not competing with Japan. I will never compete with Japan. They will always have the greatest warship that I can say that's never existed. So I just want to get out of their way and, well, anyway, just open up the way for them. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Mahan. Okay, family, let's take a few moments to share our reflections. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody. Pastor Milhan, is it okay if I do the prayer points? You didn't answer me last night.
Prayer points. Oh, sure. I was wondering what you're referring to.
All right.
Okay.
Brothers and sisters, I'd like to share the prayer points that were sent to us from Dr. Ki Hoon Kim, because our True Mother's coming to America in October, and as a nation, we were asked to do a prayer condition, and we were asked to either go to a Chuncheon Wan, if possible, to pray, or to pray in your own home. And there's no stipulations as to how long the prayer condition should be or anything. That's up to you. But I'd like to read the prayer points for those of you who may not have received the email or haven't had a chance to look at it. I think it's really, really important that we know. So I'm going to just briefly read the prayer points. It's from September 21st, yesterday, until October 11th. We encourage all families to offer their 21-day special devotion at the Chuncheon Wan or at home. Okay, the prayer points. Number 1, True Mother's safe arrival and well-being. 2, success of Vision 2025, centering on True Mother. 3, unity with Reverend Dunkley's leadership to welcome True Mother. 4, alleviate True Mother's main concerns for Korea, Japan, and America. A, to let the hearts and minds of government officials and the people of Japan be open to how precious Heavenly Parent and True Parents are, and the Japanese Church to be free from media accusations. B, the True Parents Foundation in America, the New Yorker Hotel, and the Washington Times be secured. Let them be rebuilt to be shining examples in the 21st century. C, that the legal case against UCI be successful to uphold True Parents Foundation. 5, for FFWPU USA and CSW Heavenly USA's unity in fulfilling our role as the elder son nation to bring great victory centering on True Mother. This special prayer condition will not only prepare us spiritually, but will also help us create an atmosphere of love, unity, and devotion when True Mother arrives. Let us strive to make her visit to Las Vegas a memorable and spiritually uplifting experience for all. Let us pray together in one heart and as one community and prepare to welcome our beloved True Mother. Okay, thank you. Do we have any prayer requests other than this?
Just put it there in the chat. It's a little bit messy, but it's there.
Mhm.
Good.
This is awesome. So we focus on this one. Covers everything.
Excuse me, what does it mean, PSR?
Good, thank you for asking, because I wanted to know that too. What is UCI, Pastor Milhan?
That's the Unification Church International. That's the name of the conglomerate that Hyunjinim kind of usurped. I mean, kind of, took. He ended up getting control of the board and just took it completely in the opposite direction of True Parents. So, multi-million, billion-dollar foundation that we've had. It's funny because it's called Unification Church International, and he's running it like a business. It's ridiculous, yeah, and doing his own things and completely, turned his back on True Parents a long time ago. So, yeah.
Thank you.
What's that? It's like hotels and all kinds of assets, properties, real estate, businesses, including True World Foods. Yeah. So
Wow.
that's old. This case has been going on for I don't know how long, like 20 years. Yeah, probably more than that. Well, maybe not more than that. Actually,
No,
maybe
after After your father died.
2009. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we were on good terms until, yeah, around 2013.
14.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway, I think it's a little bit. A little sooner. I think it was before father died, though. Pretty sure. Yeah. Since Engineer took over, I think around that time, that's when it started.
So, we're really looking forward to welcoming our true mother to America, to Las Vegas. It should be really wonderful. So I pray that everyone will take this prayer condition seriously. I know I am. So thank you for letting me share. Okay, brothers and sisters, if there's no other prayer requests, then let's begin our 7 minutes unison prayer. Shija. Most beloved Heavenly
Good morning,
Heavenly
Heavenly Parents. Good
thank
morning,
you
Sister
for
Karen. Heavenly
Kathleen
Parents,
bringing up the prayer points.
Yes.
Thank you for Milhan
this prayer
explaining
points today, Heavenly Parents.
everything in
Heavenly
reading
Parents,
today
for
articulately,
everyone,
Father,
To welcome our
and so comprehensively, Father.
back
And thank you,
the
Father,
clarity
for
that
having
pray,
him
Heavenly
born in
Parents, for
Korea.
strength
shown
He
today.
definitely has that
Good
mojo, that
Heavenly Father in Pennsylvania,
with being born in the
both
city
of them immigrated and so did
way
they.
that he can take that quality
They
of
made
leadership,
Pray,
Father, that he
Heavenly
has as a
statement
person
to
born in the father nation,
organization
and take it all the way.
Pray, Heavenly
billions and billions of
Learn,
dollars.
brothers and
assimilate,
sisters.
Father, what he has, Father. I was not born in
Pray,
Korea, I
Heavenly
was born in Austria.
Parents,
That place, Father, that's famous for
that we can
causing
bring
a
the
whole bunch of trouble.
pray, Heavenly Parents,
Please
Result.
allow me,
One of
Father,
those
to
results
repent
is
for the
life.
things that I represent, collective
pray,
sins,
Heavenly Parents,
planetary sin, Father. I pray that you
pray,
really
Heavenly
join up
Parents,
And
for
then
every
beneficial
Christian daughter.
to what I want to do.
We pray,
That's what I'm doing. I have been doing all my life, my parents. That only got excited
for
about Father, the very evil satanic religion, Father, that has been established
we pray, Heavenly
trying
Parents,
to
living prayer
rule this world, Father.
brothers
And
and
even got
Japanese
some of the
Japanese
children
sisters,
becoming atheist materialists, Father.
we
persecution
pray, Heavenly
on the
That's
Parents,
all it
right.
is. It's
for
atheistic
Pastor
materialism. Nothing to
Beating the
do
drum of
Pastor
public
Melanie,
with the life of faith.
we ask
They're using, Father, the life of
felt
faith as
that
a mental.
sensitive.
That has nothing to do with
They have no
church.
idea
pray for
That
him and
disallow
important they've never seen
scales falling off
parents in heaven have
the
met a youth
sisters' eyes,
without the
especially many
Japanese
for
American
culture.
brothers and sisters.
Parents
They
could
don't
not
realize that
fulfill the
communism is for real. The communist
but it's
beliefs
amazing
are
that
going to fight to the death, Father. Millions and thousands of people having died,
communism caused
being executed
brothers
without,
and sisters.
germination
oh,
of
Father, right now,
Here
even
this morning,
things
we
of
pray,
old
Heavenly Parents,
communism being slaughtered. Russian war
Western
against
democracy
Ukraine,
united
Father,
with
just
Western
do the
democracy
same thing and the old things
away
things
from communism.
again and again, Father, and it's inspired by the fallen angels, by the little
we pray,
devils,
Heavenly
And
Parents,
of the little
for
devils, Father, really
the
the
church that
little
Catholic
devils
kept
like
back
Blumenthal, Father,
communism
and
from
all the
China
people that
and
have this
Russia.
kind of smarts at the same time and not able to understand
We pray for
that they are being
Carpenter,
Attempted to
useful
destroy
idiots, being used, Father, by the devil.
successful.
We pray that all those
witness and
Thankful
conditions
so
to the
used
universities.
by those little devils
supported
anymore.
by
Pray attentive
understanding
parents,
Pull the
members
brothers and
cover off, open up the
we
curtain,
pray
Father, and
for
see what's really going on
brothers
behind
and
the
sisters
scenes.
at the Washington
parents,
You are the
Administration.
God that
mothers, spoke
are
of
the
the
creator.
situation, the
And
progress
parent, you are the one with all the power, actually. You could just
children
wipe this earth off
to organize
us, Father.
be better able
You
to
will not do
fulfill
that because
my
you created this
responsibilities,
universe for
Brothers
the
and sisters,
purpose of true
whatever
love.
the
that we
hands
can
You
of
love
have
each other
humanity
established
as
a world of true
may
love.
It's more substantial, Father, than semblance,
Keep
Father,
them,
of
Lord.
reality that makes sense.
We pray that we can
Spiritually
go
right
Pray
now.
for Father
Pray
Alman
for
and Rand that
worldly
to your will
businesses
on earth
receive
as
their
it
falling
is
for
in heaven.
the
wife,
tempting words,
lead
Father,
them
the cunning words, half
realize that
We
truths,
pray
Monica,
for
Father, that
America this
I
morning.
was very famous for
promised
putting out.
land, the Lord in the second
It's
advent.
gotten away since the
the
fall.
children,
Eve,
Israel, their
it's
religious
yet
and
the word
Pray,
spiritual
that
leaders.
you're
pray,
not supposed to eat of
Pray
that
for
tree yet.
victory.
Lord,
Pray
that
for
you
You're
come
not
to
supposed to eat
understand
of
the
the
their
tree.
religious
parents
and
But
spiritual
if you
leaders.
eat of it, you will be like
truly
God. Yes, that's all
Repent,
correct.
repent,
He did not
repent today.
hold true
can share it with others,
of these half truths
people
that we can bring out
America
realize
this
these
morning.
mistakes,
America can
missions,
take a role in
like
their
that would be
Wilson was
wonderful
they have
and
to
not
take
doing
a
certain
strong
things, not
so
saying
they
things.
can
for the
stand up
health,
and
Father.
do their roles
We
as
need
the
to say
leaders
the
of this
full
mother in the
Monty,
spiritual
the
realms.
whole
pray Heavenly
story,
Speak to
Father,
him and
of our true
for
purpose.
Alex,
for
Gone,
transformation and
their
change
pray
life
for the
different
conviction
missionaries.
all the way
Create
to Father
missionaries
is
to
gone,
be in
like
America,
all the way to the last
Puerto
to
moment.
visit
For the
the
young people, we pray for the youth.
College,
Forward
and be
Car,
protected
to
Colombia,
We pray
take
Heavenly
and
care of
Father
arrive
everything,
here
that
Father. And
safely.
he said, I'm
Colombia,
sorry,
that
because he
is
knew
Be
he
for
wanted
welcomed
to do
by
more. He
there,
wanted to
many of
be
our
the communist
bring
young
into the day of
generations,
telling
pray that
good,
we
Father,
can
which
learn
to
the
Mother
age
and
of
Lord
40 to the age
to
of
do on
Alex,
80.
behalf
Pray
of the true
Vicente,
that
parents. Pray for
Jessica,
to Mother
relativity,
Stacy,
pray that we can go
well
with
being,
Lara,
Father, she's in the United
purity,
States.
and
shoes and
Pray for
protection,
all the young
sandals.
people that may
instrumento de
health,
be a
providencia
Can
chance,
experience
Father.
security, and
I said,
members
to
no
Heavenly
competition
left
there,
Father.
Father. Truly to
We
Wash
bring
pray
this up
Heavenly
to our
Father
fighting for
house.
wash the
Father,
only
that
help
all
us to
saves the world.
bring the
in the
Pray for
victory
Puerto Rico,
that
that
it's
we can
truly
give
and
America to America
for the brothers and sisters in
hope
Burma.
that the world.
be a
Father, when
renewal
they
of
put their to
We
it,
pray
of
Heavenly
the
nothing,
spirit
nobody
Father
for my family,
was used in
strength
World War One, two,
all of
Father,
us
that it shouldn't
that
be
we
used
work
for such
necessary
hard.
positions.
conditions to bring down that
Father, that
a
say of the Sun
strong,
Pray for
Nation,
the
loving
be
spirit
catalyst
in their
Christian
lives,
help
in our
morning.
churches.
the nations
Pray
around
that
the
the
world, Father, to
Pray for
realize,
necessary
Father, we're looking at the
conditions
other nations,
strength.
pour
true
down your
parents,
spirit in our
looking at
hearts.
the true parents nation.
Pray Heavenly
We
Father
pray that you please
Our
allow
desires
cover
and
see
expectancies
first of all
to bring the
the
victory
that we should
to go
experience
resolve
your intervention in
forth.
people's lives.
Father, with people
And as
coming
a
out,
result, I
the
was able
signature
to
Heavenly
campaign
Father,
go on
from the
to
youth of
militants,
Utah
2 degrees
be a
in music.
successful.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for your prayers. Any announcements before we go?
So I am about to book the bank space for the Metro service. I'm looking at October 1st. So it was a decision we made, and I'd like it to be a ministry fair. So we're going to have each of the ministries give 5 to 10 minutes to present what they're doing, how you can get involved. And then each of them have a table where people can sign up or donate, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll be emceeing, and I just notified the pastors last night. They still have to book the space, but we haven't had any issue in the past doing that. But let's do it, guys. New York.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, no, that's the idea.
Yeah. What's happening this coming Sunday, Day of Atonement?
I'll be preaching this Sunday.
Okay, good. Look forward to. All right, brothers and sisters, thank you so much for coming. I hope you have a wonderful day. Happy Friday. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
bye. Have a good day.
God bless you. Blessed day.